You're listening to School Counseling Simplified, a podcast with easy-to-implement strategies for busy school counselors. Here's your host, Rachel Davis from Bright Futures Counseling.
Let's play a little game of Would You Rather, School Counselor Edition. Okay, would you rather spend your weekend planning a group or spend your afternoon sitting in irrelevant PD? Yikes. Or would you rather be the only counselor with no one to collaborate with, or to spend hours searching online for engaging activities? All of these options are pretty bad, right? But unfortunately, they're all too real. But what if I told you I had a solution for you? What if I told you I had access to hundreds of school counseling lessons, groups, and activities, counselor-specific trainings on the topics you need most, and a community of like-minded school counselors to support you? You would say, yes, please. Well, that is what Impact is all about. Impact is my monthly membership for school counselors, and it helps you with all of these things. You get access to hundreds of resources. That's unlimited free downloads. Log in and get what you need right away to every single resource that's in my store. We add new resources each and every month. We're adding a new middle school and elementary resource each month, and some of these are bonus Impact exclusives, meaning that you can get resources just for members. You can request resources that you need and easily search so you can find exactly what you're looking for. And let's talk about the trainings, counselor-specific trainings on the topics you need most. We do these each and every month as part of our Coffee with the Counselor series. Impact members get to join for absolutely free. You earn PD certificates and you get exclusive access to members-only things like the Ultimate Small Group Experience and our Summer Summit Conference. And the community. Y'all, this is possibly my favorite part of Impact. I so look forward to jumping on these calls, to getting to know counselors who are similar to me and also completely different. It's so fun to hear from your experiences and your challenges, and everyone brings a unique perspective to the table. We have an exclusive online community, and we even have a cool app where you can chat with other counselors in these community circles. We have our monthly calls, like I mentioned, twice a month, and we share wins, troubleshoot tough cases, and just talk about what it's like to be a counselor, because so often we're on our own island at our school sites. So if any of that sounds like it's for you, I would love to see you inside Impact. Go to stressfreeschoolcounseling.com/impact to solve all of your counselor problems. And I have a special offer for my listeners. Use code POD at checkout to save 10% off your first month. Okay, let's go to today's episode. You're listening to another episode of School Counseling Simplified. I want to wrap up our behind-the-scenes series by sharing successful data tracking tools. Let's go to the show. But today I'm going to show you how you can transform your counseling program by using data collection tools so you can better serve your students and advocate for your role. Type yes in the comments if this sounds good to you. And then if anyone also wants to share in the comments, like, your comfortability with data tools. Like, are you using them a lot? Are you not using them at all? I'm just kind of curious where everyone's at here. I'm seeing a lot of yeses. Yay, we're excited about this. So yeah, let me know if you want to, like, a little more of a long form answer of kind of where you stand when it comes to data tracking. Oh gosh, did I do that? That little circle, I didn't mean to. So kind of in the middle. Casey said using and then get busy and stop using. Beverly said not really using. Rami is using with MTSS. Awesome. Okay, cool. Kimberly said it's a weakness. Good. Well, I'm happy you guys are here then. So maybe even if you already have a baseline understanding of data tracking and counseling, maybe you can leave with something to help you. Okay, so let's get started. I love to start with a quick win. This is a quick and easy data collection tool, and it's a 5-minute self-assessment. So what you can do, you can literally do self-assessments in as little as 5 minutes, making this totally doable. Create a quick Google form with some questions, and then you can interview your students or have them complete the form independently. But it's easy. While you're doing a group, all the kids are working together, just pull them over one by one in the first session and say, hey, come here, I want to ask you a couple questions. Kind of interview them, indicate their responses, grab their name and the date. And you can do this 2 ways, skill-based questions like, I know what to do when I meet someone new, or I know how to ask someone to play. This would be for like a social skills session, or feelings-based questions. I love myself. I think I'm smart. Maybe those would be good for like a self-esteem self-assessment. Then you're going to click that responses tab, export to an Excel sheet, and you can create those pretty graphs. They put them for you right there. All you have to do is screenshot them, and look, then you have some data. This simple tool makes data collection feel manageable and easy, allowing you to feel accomplished. And I want to let you know that you are in the right place. Again, it's your summer break. You're here, and I am so happy that you took the time out of your day. Maybe your busy day, maybe your relaxing day, but either way that you're here. And I want to let you know that you're in the right place. You're in the right place if you're ready to feel confident and prepared as a school counselor. You're in the right place if you're curious on how to use data to advocate for your position. And you're in the right place if you're looking for confirmation that your program is effective. So tell me in the chat, which one are you? 1, 2, or 3? Are you ready to feel confident and prepared? Are you curious how to use data to advocate for your position? Or are you looking for confirmation that your program is effective? Casey, all, Becky, all, Dawn's number 1. Someone else is all, oh, these are going fast. I love it. I mean, some 2s, some 3s, 1s and 2s. Cheryl's a 3. Maddie's a 2. I love it. Well, whatever your reason is, I'm with you 100%, and you've totally got this. So a little bit about me. I know some of you have been here all week, so this may be a little repetitive, but I do want to introduce myself to those who are joining for day one. My name is Rachel. That's my family, my husband, Grant, our 2 kids, Marin and Hobie, both boys, ages 4 and almost 2. And that's a beautiful Costa Rica sunset. I live in Tamarindo, Costa Rica. I've been here since 2019. I came down because I used to work at an international school here. Well, before that, I went on my honeymoon here and stuff, but I moved here in 2019. Feel very lucky to live here. I love it so much, and we do get those pretty sunsets. And then on the right-hand side there, that's me way back in California. I was working in San Diego County. This is before my very first day of school as a school counselor. And I got one of these heart hug pillows from IKEA. My grad school professor had one, and I was like, ooh, I want one of these for my groups, and I just loved it. And who am I to be teaching you today? Well, I have nearly a decade working in counseling and education. I'm the host of a highly rated school counseling podcast called School Counseling Simplified, so some of you may hear me over there. I've been designing curriculum and resources for thousands of counselors since 2016, and I help over 30,000 counselors with my weekly newsletter. But before that, I was just like you, just grinding as a counselor every day. Here I am in a class lesson at the International School in Costa Rica. And here's my old school ID from when I was in San Diego. And then here's some just fun old pictures I found of me as a counselor. I was split between 2 schools at first, the elementary and primary school. I had this funny little monkey I got at Dave & Buster's that I kept on my door. And then this is one of my first class lessons. We're playing like a stack the cups game as an icebreaker for a cooperation lesson. But I'm mainly qualified to teach you about data because I know how it is. I went from feeling overwhelmed as a school counselor to feeling confident in the effectiveness of my program. So tell me, how happy would you be if you had an evidence-based data tool to improve and brag on your program? Or better yet, like 3 or 4 of those. Comment 1 to 10. How happy would you be if you had that? Casey said a 10. Michelle said a 10. Andrea said a 9. She's like, kind of happy. But we're getting 10s, 9s, 10s, 9s. I love it. Well, interpreting data to improve your counseling program and advocate for your role is the solution to best serving your students and finally getting that recognition that you deserve. If you have been doing this for a while, you probably know that it is one of those positions that is a passion position because you're likely not getting the recognition you deserve, unfortunately, but hopefully we can change that. So let's talk about where we're going. We're going to start with the ins and outs of my favorite data tracking tools, how to interpret data to improve your program, how to showcase data to advocate for your position. I'll be sharing more resources to save you time, and we'll wrap it up with a live Q&A. So if you have any questions, feel free to type them in the box or to just make a note of them, and I'll be answering them all at the end. So let's start with the ins and outs of my favorite data tracking tools. So I have 4 of them that I want to share with you here today. Number 1, self-assessments. Number 2, behavior surveys. 3, end of year report, and 4, a data wall. Now, if you came to the sessions on individual counseling or group counseling, I think we even talked about data a tad in class lessons. Some of these may have been mentioned before, but we're really going to deep dive today because it's day to day. But I kind of like that because when I was doing the 5 trainings in a row, I'm like, I have so much I want to share with you guys, but I don't want to overwhelm you. So I like the idea of like revisiting some things, and you can see different examples of how you can use it across different aspects of your job. So anyways, have you tried any of these? Tell me in the comments. Have you tried number 1, self-assessments, number 2, behavior surveys, 3, end of the year report, or 4, a data wall? Okay, good. You guys have tried some stuff. A lot of people have done the self-assessment. Some people have the behavior surveys too, end of the year report. I don't think I've seen any data walls yet. Maybe that's a new one. Good. A lot of you guys are trying things. This is amazing. So let's talk about those self-assessments. So at the beginning, we did that quick win on how to do a quick self-assessment. Now, a self-assessment is something the student is going to complete. It's self-reported student data. And you're going to do this during the first and the last session. So during your first session, the kids come in, you do, your feelings check, your group rules, and then, or in an individual session, feelings check, and then you're like, hey, we're going to fill out this self-assessment. It's like a little pre-test, but there's no right or wrong answers. I just want to get to know you better and kind of see like where you're at on these topics. No right or wrong answers, be honest. And then what you can do is, especially if you're in a group, you can let the kids go to different parts of the room with like a clipboard and to fill it out privately. That way, if they're saying they don't know a lot of things, they don't feel embarrassed about it. Now, if you have emerging readers, younger students, you can, like I said, do a little interview and read to them. So you can wait to do it later in the session when you're doing an activity. If you're doing a group activity, you can pull them aside one by one and say, hey, I'm going to do a little interview, and ask you these questions. Tell me yes, no, or maybe. And then you're going to indicate it. So you can do these on paper or you can do these digitally. And I'll show you some examples of what the digital looks like a little more. Now, again, there's two types. They can be like topic-based or feelings-based. So topic-based is where you're going to try to figure out their understanding level on the topic that you're doing. So anytime you're seeing kids for counseling, I really want your biggest takeaway from today to be that your session should be data driven. So I never want it to be like random, like, oh, come on in, we're just going to talk about how we're feeling. And that's great. And we are going to do that. But we want everything we do to have a purpose and to be data driven. So what you're going to do is you're going to say, what am I going to cover in this session, in this group? We're going to be talking about growth mindset in this group. Okay, well, I need to assess the student's understanding of a growth mindset. So you can ask them, I know what a growth mindset is. Yes or no. I know what my inner coach is. Yes or no. I believe I can reach my goals. Yes or no. Now you're seeing two different types of questions there. The I know what a growth mindset is, and I know what my inner coach is. Those are topic-based questions, right? So those are like, do you know that or do you not know that? This is an understanding of a concept. But then there's more subjective type questions. So those are objective, but there's also subjective type questions like, I believe I can reach my goals, or I love myself. Those are subjective and they are not topic. They're more like feeling based. So that's just, we're kind of doing a check-in on how the student feels about themselves. So your self-assessment can have a combination of those two questions. Now, when it comes to your self-assessment, I recommend you build this around your session objectives. So when you're going to do a group or you're going to do some individual sessions, let's use a group for an example. Let's say you're going to run a self-control group and you're going to meet with them for 6 weeks. Week 1, you need to identify an objective for every week, and then you're going to teach that objective, and then we're going to measure it using the self-assessments. So week 1, maybe you're going to say, what is self-control? That's the topic. We're just defining self-control and providing some examples. Week 2, maybe you're going to learn about coping strategies for self-control. Week 3, your objective is so they can identify a support system, people they can go to when they need help staying in control. So that's just 3 weeks. We're not going to do all 6, but that's just an example. So what you would do when you're writing your self-assessment is you want to make sure that there is a statement on your self-assessment to match each objective that goes with each session. So for example, the first one could be, I know what self-control is. Yes or no. The second one, I can name 3 self-control strategies. Yes or no. And you could even have them list the self-control strategies that they know. And number 3, I know 2 people I can talk to when I'm feeling out of control. Yes or no. And then you could have them name them if you want to get more specific. I usually just leave mine yes or no, but you could have them listed out because sometimes kids might fib. I had someone say this yesterday, like, well, the kids like think they know it, but they don't really. So you could, prevent that from happening by saying, okay, 3 strategies, tell me what they are. So anyways, you're going to get that. So this way, your self-assessment is a pre-test of this material. Then in your counseling sessions, 1 week, you're going to do fun activities and games, all that stuff we talked about yesterday and the day before, all those examples of things you can do to teach concepts, you're going to do those. And hopefully the kid knows what self-control is now. And then the next week, hopefully they learn some coping strategies. And then the next week, hopefully they can identify some people in their support system. So then when we do our post self-assessment, you'll include those same questions. And then we can measure, oh, before they could only name one strategy, now they can name 3. Before they didn't know anyone they could talk to, now they do. Before they were unable to define self-control, now they can. So that's how the self-assessment works. It's very intentional. Now, you can also put feelings-based questions in there. So in that self-control one, you're going to have one statement to reflect each objective. But you could also throw in some other things just to kind of get a baseline on how your kiddo is feeling. You could put something like, I feel out of control almost all the time, or I feel out of control at school more than at home, or, yes or no. And that's just a good way for you to kind of check in. So you can do a mix of those. Now you're going to use the results to determine student progress. So, okay, did they improve as a result of my counseling sessions? And this is really cool. If you're in a one-on-one, you can just, you look at the data you have one student to look at. But if you're in a group, you can see, okay, like a lot of people improved. This is great. Some people didn't improve. And maybe it's like where everyone is improving for the most part, but one kid's not. And then you're like, okay, that kid might need some more support. They might need one-on-one or something like that. But this is always interesting. So it can help you move the student through tiers to figure out how to best support them. But it can also help you modify your curriculum to best fit student needs. And what that means is, let's say everyone's learning everything, but then you get to the session on inner coach and everyone put no. And you're like, what? I thought I taught inner coach. But maybe that session just didn't resonate. So with a group, if the whole group doesn't improve on one objective, then you can maybe think maybe the way you taught it could be modified. Awesome. I hope that's making sense. Now, digital. I love to do things digitally, and the benefits of doing it is because you can easily edit. It saves you time and paper, easy to reproduce. And if you use a Google form, like I showed you before, you hit that results tab and it'll show you the graphs automatically. You don't have to manually do anything. And it timestamps when they complete it. So you don't even have to jot down the date and time, like it'll automatically do that for you. Now, digital self-assessments, here's some examples. So they would type in, their name, the day, and then they would answer those questions. And here are, when you click that responses tab, you can either export it to a spreadsheet, a Google Sheet, or you can see the visual there and then screenshot those. And I'll show you in a bit how you can display that data later. I'm getting a couple questions here. It looks like, oh, she's talking about, okay, evidence-based assessments. And yes, so I do like to align everything with the ASCA standards, the American School Counseling Association standards. And so when you are forming your objective, you want to correspond it to a standard to make sure it's standards-based. This, I'm mainly just talking about data, but I could do a whole presentation on how to create your outlines on that as well. Now, counselors love these. Counselors have told me when it comes to self-assessments, they're like, thank you so much. It helps me understand what my students need and keeps me organized. It helps gauge the fidelity of the SEL instruction, and it saves so much time. So people are loving self-assessment. So I hope you guys try them out. Now, my second favorite tool to use is a behavior survey. Now, behavior survey isn't for the student, it's for the parents and the teachers. Now, I like to do these again, first and last session. So send it out when you do the permission slip. If you're sending it home, say, here's the permission slip for counseling, and here's the form, please complete. And then send it to the teacher as well. Like, hey, we're going to schedule some sessions. Can you please complete this form? Now, this gives us a complete picture from both home and school. So instead of the student rating themselves, this time the teacher is going to rate them and the guardian is going to rate them. And you can see in the example there, it's on a scale of never to almost always. And it'll be things like manages frustration appropriately, requests for help appropriately, using coping strategies to manage emotions independently. And I love to do this because sometimes home looks very different than school. School looks very different than home. You never know. And then we can compare what the teacher thinks to what the mom thinks to what the kid thinks. And we can see where the gaps are and learn how to better support them this way. Now, it does take effort to get the results because with the self-assessments, you have the student right there and you can just do it. But with the parents and the teachers, you have to wait for them to send it back. And so that can be like a little hard, a lot of back and forth. So something that I've found that helps is digital. So do a digital one and just send them a text or send them an email like, hey, please complete this, because then they can pull it up on their phone and do it quickly. You'll likely have better responses that way, because you know how that backpack is, the black hole, I like to call it. If you put it in there, please give this to your mom and dad, and then it gets lost, and you know how that goes. So here's an example of a digital one. Oh, good. Amy loves the system, as do I. And other counselors love it too. Casey was saying she uses them all the time. It's a huge help for data. Stephanie says it's a great way to gather that baseline information to form her small groups. So she is sending it out maybe for like different students and then saying, oh, these have similar needs. Let's form a group off of that. And then Jamie was saying it's a meaningful product that helps her do her job without having to worry about data. All right, number 3 is the data wall. So I love a data wall. I don't know a ton of counselors who do these, but they're easy, y'all, and you have to try them. So what a data wall is, it's basically a bulletin board that you're going to display some data on. Simple as that. Now, I recommend you display it in a high traffic area. So we want eyes on this, not necessarily student eyes. I mean, they can, but this is more for our stakeholders. So we're looking at parents, we want admin, we want teachers, we want all of these people to see it. So if you could put it in like the front office, or if you look a multi-purpose room, a hallway, anywhere that you think will get a lot of eyes on it, that is great, because we want people to stop and be like, huh, what's this? Oh, we have a counselor? What do they do? So this is really cool because you can showcase your counseling results. So in the example there, you can see like a number of students served by group topic. So this is cool because it's a way to share the services you offer. So if a parent's walking by and they're like, oh, let's see, she's seeing kids for grief and self-control. Oh my gosh, like our grandmother just died and I didn't even know grief counseling was something that the school offered. I really want to take advantage of this. So that's like a back end way to share the services that you provide. Now it's also advocating for your role, because you can show some of those pie charts from your Google Forms that you just quickly screenshot and print and say, oh, look, 3 out of 5 group members can now name 3 coping strategies. So that's advocating for your role. They're like, oh, wow, our counselor can do that. That's awesome. Or you could put attendance data here if you've done an initiative that has improved attendance. Or you could put discipline data here. Oh, our discipline referrals have gone down this much as a result of counseling. Now, 2 things. I encourage you to change this often. So like quarterly would be cool. You could even do it as much as monthly or anytime it makes sense. So if you like wrap up some groups, something like that. The more often, the better. It'll be just like fresh info, but also just choose one area to focus on. You don't need to highlight every group's results here. If you just have one group that went well and you want to highlight that and showcase it, that's where you can do it. And here's some more pictures of the data wall. Just a close up there, how you can use like a Google Sheet to form a pie graph. And there's some more examples of like the number of class lessons that you delivered, like quarter highlights, things like that. Now, counselors love this. Sarah said she was struggling with the quantitative side of counselor land. I love that. And this made it so much easier to get started and display that information. Layla said it was a fabulous way to showcase data. And Kirsten said it's a great way to show her school the impact that the counseling department has on student learning and mental health. And I love that. And you know what our admin loves? They love the attendance numbers, the discipline referral numbers, and the academics, right? So we got to speak their language. A lot of times we're like, oh, we're seeing all these improvements in like the mental health side of things. And hopefully your admin's on board for that. But what they really care about, they care about attendance and academics. And so it's really cool if you can show how your program has improved that data. That would be awesome. And now for my all-time favorite data tracking tool. Drum roll, please. The end of the year report. Now, the end of the year report, and you're probably thinking it's about to be the beginning of the year, but begin with the end in mind, because I'm going to show you how to make this report, and now you can start your school year through the lens of like, how can I use this in my end of the year report later on? So what is it? It's a report you create at the end of the year to show how many students you served, how many class lessons you taught, and even how much time you spent with students. So some must-have stats you could include would be, again, number of students served. So how many kids did you see individually? How many kids did you see in small groups? How much time you spent with students and average minutes per session over how many weeks? So if you're seeing them for 30 minutes, over like 6 weeks, that would be like 180 minutes. class guidance lesson topics, how many you taught, how often you taught them, any school-wide initiatives you planned, track the number of PD. This stuff counts. Like, oh, I attended on my own like 5 hours over the summer of training, conferences that you went to, anything like that. If you've presented at anything, that's wonderful. I like to log those minutes that I'm spending in meetings, IEP meetings, SST meetings, and so on, parent meetings. You could also indicate like how much time you get planning. This stuff is so powerful, y'all. If you start tracking this now, you are going to thank yourself later, because what you do is you're getting to show where your time is being spent. And you can say, look, here's how ASCA recommends I spend my time. Here's what's really happening. There's a disconnect. I need some support so I can do my job to see more students. And then the data collection pieces are what we talked about, those self-assessments, pre and post group surveys, the behavior surveys, which I also call like progress monitoring scales. But you can also do observations, your own observations, and include those as well. So here's a picture of what it looks like in action. You can see I've kind of detailed some of the groups there. Then at the front here is just like the school at a glance, number of kids there, what year it is, stuff like that. Then I like to do like some standout stats here in the front, some counseling by the number. So like this is the number of students I saw weekly. These were the number of small groups I offered. These were the number of students I served who had an IEP, just like some fun like pop out stats. And then it gets more comprehensive here. So this is basically like your data wall on steroids. This time you are including everything. It's very comprehensive. And then you can also include those graphs as well. And you can just, highlight some features that you want whoever is reading this, hopefully your administrator, to see. Now, some tips when it comes to creating your end of the year report. You want to include data from the services that you provided and from student progress. So those both are like a SP, student progress, services provided, but they're two different categories. So the services provided are the number of students that you've seen, the number of lessons that you taught. And the student progress data is showing like how the students have changed as a result of your counseling services. And those you're going to pull from those self-assessments and those behavior surveys to get that data. Now, guys, I'm not being dramatic when I say this thing is a game changer. I did it my first year. I saw some on Pinterest and I was like, oh, that sounds fun. I'm going to try this. And I turned it into my administrator, my principal, and he gave it to our superintendent. And then she reached out to me personally and was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I think all the counselors should start doing this. And then we started to do it. And I'm not saying that to like brag on myself. Like I honestly didn't know what I was doing. I just tried it. But it just goes to show that it was really appreciated and that there wasn't a precedent for this. There was no standard for data submission from school counselors. It's like the Wild West out there in school counseling. Teachers have a lot more systems in place when it comes to their jobs and expectations. So why create an end of the year report? Well, it's a great way to reflect on your program progress and to feel proud of your hard work. So a lot of times as counselors, we know what we're doing is effective and we see the results in our students. We see that light bulb moment when something clicks, and that's so awesome and so rewarding. But it's great to be able to show this to others, and it's great to use data to inform your decisions, data-driven decisions. So you can look at the data to modify your program. Oh, this lesson didn't work. No one learned anything. Well, if I didn't measure it, I would just keep doing it every single year and no one would learn anything. It would be much better to modify it and then people are learning something. A lot of times we just do things over and over again because that's how we've always done them or that's how someone taught us to do it. But it's way better to use the data to assess it and then make an informed decision that way. And then the fun stuff, showcasing it, using that report and using that data wall to advocate for your role. And then communicate your program's effectiveness. Say, look, our program is doing awesome. So with the end of the year report, Allison was saying it was a great resource to track data. Autumn said it really helped her advocate for her role. She was a first-year middle school counselor. And then Christy said it was a fantastic way to highlight the counseling services for the year. So your turn. I want you to jump in the comments and share with me one idea of data that you could include on your end of the year report. What would you like to include on your end of the year report? And Casey's saying she had a big caseload, data tracking just fell off her bandwagon. She doesn't want to repeat that this year. Yeah, well, first off, don't beat up yourself. It's a lot. You have so much. But what I would recommend is those self-assessments you can do easily, and then just save the data somewhere. And if the data wall seems like too much to take on right now, I would definitely do the self-assessments. A bonus would be if you can also do those behavior surveys. But if you have those two pieces, that's gold. And then even if you don't have time to analyze it right away, you could do it like at the end of each quarter or the end of each month or something, kind of pull it out and then see what you have. I hope that's helpful. Rami wants to document the number of field trips. Oh, that's good. Holly wants to do the topics. Do students put name on self-assessments? Yeah, I like to get the names for sure. Then you could always like follow up. But of course, you don't want to display their names. We want to keep it confidential when you're displaying it somewhere. You know that. Kimberly said the number of group sessions. BG, common topics or themes of sessions. Yeah, because this also shows where the need is, right? Child abuse cases. Yeah, you could definitely document how many times you had to call CPS or whoever you have to call depending on your state. Generalization of counseling skills in the classroom, amount of students seen, the topics taught, and the number of the IEPs or the VIPs opened. Yes, I know a lot of counselors are in charge of like 504s. You could put that on there. A lot of counselors are in charge of 504s and don't want to be. So that's a good way to indicate, hey, I'm spending this many hours here. Yeah, like Marcus is saying, the amount of time spent in meetings. Tracking the data allows you to know exactly what your program needs, and it increases the value for your position. All of this helps you feel prepared and confident to best serve your students. So let's talk about how to interpret the data to improve your counseling program. Read and analyze the results. So by collecting data to assess student needs, you can see what's working well and what is not. And then, like I said, modify the program to best serve all students. So 2 things you're going to do. You have the data, now what? Number 1, if the data shows that your students have improved, celebrate. Then you can transition them to a lower tier of intervention. So if they're in a individual and you see that they're improving, maybe they just need a small group. If they're in a small group and they've improved, they can go back to that class lesson tier. But second option, if the data shows that they have not improved, you can reevaluate, refer out. Maybe they need some outside help in addition to what the school can offer. Maybe they need to move up to a more support in a different tier. So if they're in a group, maybe they need some one-on-one. Or maybe you need to refine the curriculum to teach it in a different way that will work. Don't get discouraged. If you do a group and no one understood anything or no one improved, that's still good to know. That no data is bad data, because it's just try not to take it personally and just look at it, and objectively and say, okay, this didn't work. But the good news is, it didn't work, so you're not going to do it again. Deanne said, what do you do with data when the students answered yes before the sessions and then the post-survey answered no? Yeah, that's happened before. Sometimes they just get confused, or they're kind of like lying because they don't want to they want to appear that they know what it is. They don't want to get in trouble. So I just say, in the beginning, just really reiterate the fact that I would even say, I don't really expect you to know any of this stuff. That's why you're here, I don't expect you to know this. But I just want to see, just in case, maybe you know some of this stuff, make it very low stakes, even if they put no to everything, not a big deal. And you could do this, I think, when they're reading it themselves and doing it, it's just harder. But if you're interviewing them, you can kind of talk about it, and that's when you can kind of gauge, do they really know it or not? But you're probably right. They probably do feel more honest afterwards. A lot of people are saying that's happened to me too, because hopefully you have more rapport, more of a relationship now. But yeah, just be mindful of that. That definitely could happen. You could also do a midpoint check-in in between the sessions, halfway through, to kind of see how it's going. Or you could even do check for understanding, a ticket out the door kind of thing. You check for understanding at the end of each session. So like I said, you want to use the data to assess the current situation. So determine the correct placement and next steps for the students. So again, if they're getting that tier 2 support, but they need more, move them to tier 3 one-on-one. But if they're getting tier 2 support and they've improved, they can graduate. And I love to do a little celebration, graduation party. And then I will say this, some students need continued counseling. They do a group or something and it's just, they're still having the same problem. And the teacher's this didn't fix it. We need more. That's fine. But I still recommend that they graduate that group and restart another group. You don't want to get in this cycle of continued nonstop counseling. That's not really our role. Our role is supposed to be short-term and solution focused. And So what I recommend is you have your plan. You're like, we're going to have this group for 6 weeks. These are our objectives. These are, standards based. And then this is what we're going to do. The kid goes through the 6 weeks. We measure the data. The group is over. We look at the data. Okay, they need more. They're going to start another group, even if it's on the same topic. But that way it's like, and then we'll reassess. We'll do another pre-test, another post-test. You can even do that with individual. Have in your mind a plan of the number of sessions and what you're going to cover, and then measure it. Now tell me in the comments, how would the end of the year report or any of the data really best help you? Would it help you determine when to end services, figure out which groups to lead, or know when to refer to an outside agency? How would the data help you? 1, 2, or 3. Adrian said it would help with all of them. Greta said determining when to end services and figuring out which groups to lead. Michelle said 2, Gina 1, Kristen all. Yes. Now, let's talk about the last point here, how to showcase data to advocate for your position. You can display your amazing results. Now, I talked about this a bit already, using the end of the year report in the data wall. These are the ultimate self-advocating tools and a chance for you to brag on yourself and show the need for your program. School counselors are often misunderstood. People don't really know what we do. I didn't put this in the presentation, but because it's back to school season, something I was thinking of is I always recommend doing a back to school night, or if you do like an open house, set up a little table, have some like about me brochures, have some referral forms there, and maybe have like a little sample of like, these are some groups I'll potentially do this year. This referral based, like complete a referral if you think your child needs one. And I had permission slips there too. I've had parents at back to school night be like, yep, want that. Here's the permission slip. Then we can get started right away. We don't have to wait for all of that, red tape, so to speak. And so anytime you can get yourself out there to talk about who you are and the services that you provide, and this is a free service in public school that you can provide, like that's great. Families want to hear that. And it kind of destigmatizes counseling. So not only is counseling data a great way to advocate for your position, but you can significantly improve your program by making decisions based off data and not simply guessing. So like I've been talking about, we're deciding to continue or not continue counseling. We're deciding what type of counseling they need based on data. And we use the data wall in the end of the year report to showcase our progress, to say, wow, look how many kids I saw, look how many groups I'm doing. And again, it does 2 things. It's advocating for our role because we're saying, look, we are making such a difference at our school. Counselors are important. We should hire more counselors. But we're also saying, look at the services that I provide. So if parents or teachers walk by your board and they see your report and they're like, oh, she offers that service, that's great. Maybe there's a teacher who didn't realize that you're supposed to be coming in their class for class lessons. Or maybe there's a teacher who is giving you a little bit of pushback when it comes to taking students out of academic time. And they're like, no, we want them not to miss instructional time to go to counseling. But you're like, no, look what we're doing in counseling over here. We are doing big things. We got some questions here. Casey said, how early do you start groups? She knows from last year she's going to have a drama-filled group of 6th grade girls. She intends to start a group for them early. How early is too early? If you're already familiar with them, you could take a preventative approach to it. Just go ahead and get started. I've done them like first month of school for sure, but I usually recommend doing referral based. So, August might be a little quiet, but by September, those referrals start trickling in and then you can start to form your groups. But you can be proactive about it. And we want to give students the benefit of the doubt, even if they had a issue last year. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to have it this year. Perhaps they've improved over the summer, but you could reach out to their teachers and just say like, hey, these students in your class I saw last year, and I think we'll need continued services. We kind of want to be proactive about it. Can we go ahead and start meeting? Kimberly said, how many groups do you run at a time? It really just depends. Oh gosh, I would have to look at the report there. I probably have it on there because this was my real report. Let's see, I can't see all the, here, 10. Oh, well, that was 10 offered through that semester. Oh gosh, I don't know, like 4 maybe? It really just depends because they're starting and ending at different times. She's praying for summer growth. I feel that. And Lisa said, I have parents wanting me to take kids in place of outside counseling since our wait lists are over 12 months. Doctors are pushing for us to take kids as well. It's overwhelming. Yeah, it is overwhelming. And a lot of times everyone wants one-on-one. I feel like parents really want you to do individual. But I try to do as many groups as I can because then you can help more students, and the kids do great in groups. I feel like they really like them. So that's like 30 minutes you could spend with one student or 30 minutes you could spend with 6 students. So try to do groups to help if you have a big caseload. So when you're communicating the services that you provided, you want to talk about those direct student services, but you also want to talk about how you supported teachers through lessons, through behavior plans, through consultation. You also want to talk about how you supported parents. Did you do any parent education events? Did you have meetings with parents and phone calls with parents? And how you collaborated with the community. Did you help do any community service projects? Did you do a career fair? Anything like that? And when it comes to student progress, you want to talk about that self-assessment data, the behavior progress form data, the parent-teacher surveys, and attendance data.
Thanks for listening to School Counseling Simplified. You can find the links from today's episode in the show notes. If you'd like to connect with Rachel, she's on Instagram and Teachers Pay Teachers at Bright Futures Counseling. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any episodes of School Counseling Simplified. Talk to you next week.